So close you can almost taste it.
What? You just gonna walk away? Time to bring the juice.
Never leave a fit behind. Rip it, and bring the juice.
That flavor's just out of reach.
Drop the leg, Oos, and bring the juice. Yee.
Thanks to Jey Uso, Solo Sikoa is coming home. Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer are after the same thing. Braun Breaker is fighting for his position as the future of the WWE. Rey Mysterio is on the show. This is the Raw Recap on WWE Now, a WWE and Fanatics original production. Oh, Megan Morant, here we are again. Welcome to WWE Now. Sam Roberts here, and Megan. There is so much. First of all, you heard right. Rey Mysterio is going to be on
Yes, he
Raw
is.
Recap today,
Yeah.
tonight. I can't wait to talk to Rey about everything that's going on, not only with the tournament involving Raw, SmackDown, and AAA luchadors that are going to end up, one of them is going to end up facing Roman Reigns.
Which is nuts.
On Raw for the championship, but also
In Mexico City.
In Mexico City, but also, of course, that interaction that he had with Chad Gable, and we'll get there. But Monday Night Raw started with Solo Dolo Sikoa
In your city.
walking down, going, "It's just me, Oos. It's just us, Oos."
Green velvet suit.
Yeah, turtleneck to match.
I loved it. I loved every bit of it. Pew, pew, pow.
You love Solo's fashion? Is that what you're telling me?
The whole package of Solo Sikoa right now.
What about the matching turtleneck? Okay, because this is a look, right? It's a look. So
A look.
it's like, it's one thing to have the red velvet with the black turtleneck, or the black with the red, or the cream with the black. This is a forest green suit with a forest green turtleneck equipped with the Hitman leather gloves. What do you think of the matching turtleneck to the suit, all in Christmas green in early August?
I have to tell you, the chain really ties it all together.
You
as
think
well.
so?
The gold chain that's iced out brings the whole thing together.
Might
the
be a
glasses,
GLD.
Yeah, it could be a GLD.
The bracelet too, everything's shining. Your boy Solo is shining right now, and he's shining in front of everybody. And you know, it's interesting.
Listen, I know Roman Reigns says Solo couldn't get a cup of coffee delivered to the arena, but looking like that,
Oh,
I think you get a lot more than coffee.
yeah, you can get a truckload of style delivered to the arena, that's for sure. Seeing Solo Dolo and a smile. You know what? You know what the best fashion accessory of them all is? A smile. Because you're never fully dressed
Is that what they say?
without a smile.
Is that what they
That's what
say?
they say. That's an old Samoan proverb. But Solo Sikoa.
I didn't realize that.
That's 100% true. Solo Sikoa, and you know, we talked to Solo Sikoa on the SummerSlam Recap podcast about everything that's happened, and I was pointing out that Solo has gained traction and popularity with fans in the last, like, really only few weeks. People are starting to see him, and there were those that objected. I saw him in the comments saying, "No, we've been riding with Solo from day one," and there are those that have.
I
You
would
have.
include myself in
Absolutely.
that conversation, and you were part of that as well.
Absolutely.
But I got to tell you, I've been riding so hard with Solo that tonight when Raw ended and I found out that Solo had to go home,
Right.
I didn't feel great about it.
You did not.
No, I kind of liked what Solo was doing on his own too.
Well, and he had pointed that out.
Yeah.
I like where I'm at.
And I was like, you know what? I do too.
Megan Morant likes where I'm at.
He doesn't have to deal with anybody's punk ass.
No, he doesn't. Well, now he does.
Well, yeah, that's
So
but he
f-
didn't. Before.
Okay, so first of all, he says he brings up the fact that last week Jacob Fatu took out Royce Keys, and Michael Cole said on commentary that Royce Keys is out indefinitely now because of the beatdown that he got. So Solo shows up and he says that because Royce Keys got taken out in that fashion, he's here to deal with family business. Do we think that Solo Sikoa truly sees Royce Keys as family? I saw a meme that showed like Royce Keys and Solo Sikoa at 9 years old sitting behind the commentary table at Monday Night Raw. I cannot verify that that's actually Solo Sikoa and Royce Keys, but God, I hope it is. All that said, do we think that Solo actually sees Royce Keys as family, or do we think that Solo Sikoa heard Roman Reigns talking to Jacob Fatu last week going, is Royce Keys your family? Is he related to you? Is he your uncle? Is he your brother? Jay, is Royce Keys your blood? Jimmy, is Royce Keys your blood? Do you think Solo heard that and realized that, like, if he says that this is family business with Royce Keys, he's getting under the skin of the tribal chief?
1,000%.
You think it's obnoxious?
That's what Solo is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his whole purpose, to get under the skin of Roman Reigns and the rest of the bloodline in any way that he can.
So you don't think he sees Royce Keys as family?
No, but if Roman doesn't see him as family, Solo does see him as family.
Because
that's what Solo does right now.
Right. Because he likes where he's at.
Yes.
And then, of course, Jey Uso comes in and he interrupts. And he talks about running the play. And he talks about knowing what to do. The play is there. Just run the play. Come back to the family. You know what we're doing.
He brought up Solo's house. You like where you're living? That's because of all of us.
Listen, it's tough, but true. I mean, is Solo Sikoa in the position that he's in right now? Is Solo Sikoa cashing the check that he's cashing right now if it's not for the Usos and Roman Reigns?
I tell you what, the wardrobe does not look nearly as good if it wasn't for the Usos and Roman Reigns.
Is he shining that bright, Megan? That's what people want to know.
No, he's not.
That said, listen, here's the thing. Truth is in the eye of the beholder. And that may be, quote unquote, true. It may be something that you could follow the logic train and get there. But if Solo Sikoa doesn't feel that way, what difference does it make if it's true or not? If Solo Sikoa is perfectly confident by himself and has no insecurities about how he got to where he is, then what difference does it make? Does he have to live indebted to the people who happen to share the same bloodline as him?
Just because they opened the door for him?
Right. Well, he's the one who walked in.
That's right.
And now he's in. So he says, then throw me out then. Then throw me out. Then take away my house. It's not going to happen. So is this thing where he looks around and goes, now look, maybe the argument from the Usos is there's more where that came from. We have a plan here. Roman last week was on Raw talking to the members of the bloodline, talking about how he wants to view them as equals now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He wants them. He doesn't want one big house on top of the hill. He wants a cul-de-sac.
He wants a compound, I think.
That's right.
I mean, you're not wearing $500,000 watches and saying you want a cul-de-sac. You want a compound,
Oh,
right?
it's a really nice cul-de-sac.
Yeah, I think there's like a service entrance.
Oh, for
on
sure.
the side,
For
right?
sure.
There
Absolutely.
has to be.
It's a gated cul-de-sac.
Yeah, it has to be. But then, Jay was telling Solo that he has to fall in line. And Solo was like, what's this all about falling in line? Falling in line, is that how it works? Because it doesn't look like you fell in line. It looks like you fell off.
Oh, and everyone went, ooh. And he started listing where Jay was before, where Jay is now. And if we're saying what's fair and what's facts, he doesn't have a championship around his waist.
No.
He's
And
not
this
the
is the
World
guy who
Heavyweight Champion.
won the Royal Rumble, who beat Gunther at WrestleMania.
That said, the audience still does enjoy. The audience, it's really interesting watching the audience because although they do enjoy yeeting with Solo, you can't take that away from Jay. They still enjoy yeeting with Jay as well. They were
do.
actually actively asking them to run it back.
And not in a sarcastic way.
No, when Solo was like, remember when they used to get excited when you came out? Everybody's like, run it back, run it back, run it back.
They still get excited.
Right. It's almost Pavlovian at this point. Like when you hear that, you're like, oh yeah, this is part of the reason that I pay for a ticket. This is what I come to do. I come to yeet alongside
That's right.
Jey Uso. When Solo does it, it's equally entertaining.
When Solo does pew pew pow.
Right.
I'm here for that as well.
I mean, Jay might have to come up with a new line. When Jay sits there and goes, this is your warning shot. Bow.
and
And
Solo.
Solo's ducks. Solo puts his hand up to protect himself. He ducks, and then he looks behind him and asks the audience, is everybody okay? Did anybody get shot? Is everybody okay? I mean, it's so obnoxious. It is the most little brother quality of Solo Sikoa.
See, now that we're talking about all of this, I'm even more disappointed that Solo has to go back to the family.
Okay.
Because I love that Solo is mocking Jay. It's highly entertaining for me.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Whether it's respectful or it's not of the family, I enjoy it.
Well, of
and I
course
don't
you
know
do.
if that makes me bad.
it's one of the things that does.
Well,
you like when other people have conflict. You like conflict amongst families as long as it's not the Morant family.
We do watch a show that centers around conflict.
Well,
and
professional
then talk
wrestling
about
Monday
it.
Night Raw.
Yes, and then we talk about it.
No,
So-
it's fair. It's fair. So Jay sets that up. He goes, okay, fine then, fine. Me and you tonight. If I win, I'm bringing you back to the tribal chief. If I win, you come home. And Solo says, that's fine, but if I win, you guys are all going to leave me alone. And Jay accepts those terms, and Solo accepts those terms, and we're off to the races. Now, they get backstage, and Jimmy and Jacob were not part of the plan. As a matter of fact, Jacob makes it clear that Jay and his punk ass are going to need the dub. And Jay still hasn't gotten the answer. Why does he keep calling me that? And what really was to see Jay go, why does he keep saying that? Why does he keep calling me that?
Well, Jay did aggressively approach Jacob Fatu and start saying, I did something that you couldn't do, Jacob.
Right. Before he had actually done it.
Exactly.
However, look, there is this rivalry going on with Jacob and Jay, and that's how you know the bloodline is real. It's starting to feel like a real family, where it's like they are going to stick together, and not every squabble means they're breaking up, and this one's turning on this one, and that one's turning on that one. But families don't get along.
No.
How many family reunions that start off great are feeling the same way by the end of the night?
Very, very few.
You and your whole family could get together once a year. But you know what? You get there in the afternoon, food's just starting to cook, everybody's happy to see each other.
There's always that one uncle.
By the time the sun's going down, you're remembering that thing that your uncle said 30 years ago. Oh, I just remembered. I hate that guy. You know what happened one time? This is true. This happened in my family, okay? I swear, I'm there at a family reunion, and I'm not going to say whose side it was, but one of my uncles by blood looks at one of my uncles by marriage. And this uncle by marriage has been a part of the family, I mean, since I'm a small child. He is not new. He has been there for years and years. As long as I've been, he might as well be by blood, because I've never known him not to be a part of the family. And as if he just showed up, he says something, and my uncle by blood just leans into me, and he whispers, and he nods over to my uncle by marriage, and he goes, man, that guy sucks. And I'm like, he's been here for years. What do you mean that guy sucks? We know who he is. But this is what happens when families get together.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to get along.
Not at the start.
You can
but
pick your
as
friends, you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your family.
This is true.
And Jey Uso's sitting here trying to do the right thing, and Jacob keeps calling him a punk ass. But I think part of it is, look, as much as we can talk about what's going to happen with Solo, now that, you know, the result is the result based on the main event of tonight's Raw, what about Jacob? See, there's been this dynamic of the bloodline ever since Jacob joined the ranks, where Jacob keeps getting one up on Jey. Jacob appears to be Roman's favorite right now. Jacob is the one that takes care of business. Jacob is the one that took care of Royce Keys. You know, Jey can be hit or miss sometimes, especially lately. Makes a promise, can't exactly keep it. Didn't take care of LA Knight.
And we didn't exactly get Roman's full reaction to Jey losing the King of the Ring tournament.
Well, yeah, I would lump it into Roman pointing out that they lost at SummerSlam. You can't be losing matches, but you're right. But what happens now?
That Solo's in the fold?
No, that Jey did get it done.
That
Jey did get it done.
Jey
Jacob, how many times did Jacob go over to SmackDown? Handful.
handful. And he
How
could
many
not,
of those times did Solo come back with Jacob?
0.
But now, after one challenge, they said over and over again that Jey, and to quote Jacob, his punk ass, needs to get that dub. And tonight, Jay got that dub. It's a big deal.
I mean, it definitely complicates things even more between Jacob and Jay. And I'm interested to see next week how Roman addresses the entire situation. But to add another wrinkle, if Solo's really coming home, you talk about tension within the bloodline. There's the history between Jacob and Solo Sikoa. There's the dynamic between the Uso twins and their younger brother, Solo Sikoa. And then there's obviously all of the history between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa as well. It gets real messy.
I love you, Solo.
That's right.
Yeah, you're right. There is all that hit. And who knows? Who knows where the fractures start to build?
And Solo was the original enforcer of the bloodline.
Yes.
And now Jacob's
Yes.
been referred to as the enforcer of the bloodline.
Yeah.
And I don't think Solo's necessarily vying for the spot of enforcer of the bloodline because he's
Solo's not vying for any
now.
spot. You know,
he
here's
doesn't want to be.
Here's the thing about Solo. He likes where he's at. Does Mega Morant like where Solo Sikoa is at?
I do.
I thought you might.
I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like Solo in this bloodline.
I don't know if Solo's going to like
We're gonna
Solo
have
in
to
this
see it.
bloodline. I don't know if Roman's going to like Solo in this bloodline because Solo has figured out a thing or two. This goes back again to the interview that we have, whether it's real life, whether it's whatever, whether it's TV show, it's all the same thing sometimes. Solo talked about sitting under the learning tree of Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns. Who's more manipulative of the situations that they are in than Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns?
No one.
Then what did Solo learn, and what is he going to do in the situation that he finds himself in? Were you surprised that LA Knight wasn't there with his 10 watches?
Slightly surprised because LA Knight always inserts himself into anything to do with the bloodline and the championship. But I think what is a distinct change in LA Knight now is that he's grabbed the attention of Roman Reigns. He knows he's where he needs to be, right?
Right, that he doesn't want to get back into that mix.
Not getting back into the mix because he has the attention of the tribal
That's
chief.
a good call.
So I don't think he sees all that other business and he says, why bother with that? That's
And
behind me.
What did Roman say about LA Knight last week?
I got him.
Yeah.
He's mine.
So it's
Don't
like,
touch him.
if LA Knight's still in that position, that's a good call. That's 100% right. And LA Knight's not the type that's getting lost in the sauce on all this. His goals are not loftier than they need to be. His goals are exactly where they need to be, which is beat Roman Reigns for the title.
And I think in a way it shows a change in LA Knight because I think LA Knight of maybe even just a couple months ago could have gotten overly emotional and gotten himself involved in something like tonight's main event of Raw.
Yeah.
But after last week, I don't know. Once you get called out by the tribal chief like that, you're not sticking your nose.
No, you
know
say
the
you have to stay
business.
focused. Yeah, he
Yes.
almost joined the Luchador tournament.
I know.
Found out he was not a luchador. He didn't realize.
Breaking news.
Apparently, he doesn't watch the product either. You know, everybody's got to watch the product a little bit, you know? So we get to the match. It's the main event. It's Jey Uso versus Solo Sikoa. In the end, Jimmy distracts. He ends up eating that Samoan spike, but Jay is waiting there with a spear, an Uso splash. 1, 2, 3, Jey Uso wins. Clearly, Jimmy and Jay, they conga lined out of Monday Night Raw. Clearly, those two are on the same page. Jacob wasn't at ringside. But Jimmy and Jay, I mean, Jimmy willing to take some damage for the greater good. Jimmy and Jay on the same page. So, yeah, you're right. There are multiple dynamics at play.
Yeah.
When it comes to seeing how this bloodline is going to play out.
I like my Solo Dolo.
He can't call himself Dolo
I know,
anymore.
because he's not.
He's got 4 people around him now. He's not Dolo. He's just Solo. And yeah, I think that's the face of a Solo Sikoa that's got to come up with a new plan. I think he will. I think he will.
If there's one thing I know about Solo Sikoa, is he's got a plan.
But I mean, say what you will about the success of Bloodline 2.0 or about the success of the MFTs. When you come from you leave the bloodline, you set out on your own. You lead 2 groups on your own. You spend time declaring yourself the tribal chief. You separate fully from the bloodline. You spend time as an individual. When you're finally on your own, when there's no bloodline, when there's no 2.0, when there's no MFT, you finally get the audience on your side. The audience finally recognizes what you're capable of. The innate charisma that Solo Sikoa has. The range that Solo Sikoa has from being able to entertain you to being able to drive a Samoan spike into the side of your throat. Imagine how you feel knowing, wait. Are we going back to step one?
You're describing exactly how I feel right now.
I don't want to go day one-ish.
I don't either. I like solo dolo.
I get it. I completely.
So that's what I'm looking forward to next week with the tribal chief coming back is all of these dynamics at play and how Solo looks back in the bloodline.
And the bloodline's different now.
Yes, it is.
How Roman handles the whole thing. Look, before we get back into all of this and before we get back into Raw, we got to talk about the main event. Not that happened on Raw, but the main event that's happening in your own home. Look, life is basically SummerSlam. Every single day, a high-stakes gauntlet where the responsibilities, they just keep coming. It feels like you're constantly making trade-offs between the things you have to do and the things you actually love. That's why we're celebrating those moments where you refuse to tap out. It's time for the Minute Maid Juice Break, where we highlight those everyday wins that deserve a massive pop. Listen, I love when I finally get the chance to get some Z's. You know, stay in bed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last night, it's about 1 o'clock in the morning. I hear from downstairs. Woof, woof. I go, you gotta be kidding me. I go, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pretend I'm asleep. Hopefully the dog will wake up my wife and she'll have to take the dog out.
You're a terrible person.
That's what I was gonna do, right?
Terrible
and I heard,
person.
woof. I said, no, I'm tapping out. I'm not gonna do it. Woof. And then I think she was stirring, but I think she was doing the same thing I was. It was a showdown at the OK Corral. But then I said, you know what? I'm not tapping out. I'm not tapping out. There are things I have to do and things that I want to do. I'm not tapping out on the things that I have to do. I went downstairs. I took the dog out, outside the house. Went out there, let the dog do her business, brought her back in. I was frustrated. I was annoyed. I got back in bed. Mysteriously, my wife was awake when I came upstairs, unbelievably.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is she okay? Yeah. However, I still felt good about it. You know why? Because I didn't tap out.
Well, similarly, in my house, we're in a bit of a different stage of life.
Yeah.
We got some toddler tantrums
I'll bet.
going on
My wife has to deal with that too,
all the time.
from me.
Yes, and your other
Oh, yeah.
plan
There are other, yeah.
Robert. So she has quite a bit on her plate. And I was gonna go out for my morning jog,
Ooh.
and I heard a tantrum unfolding, and I said, no, I'm not gonna tap out on this tantrum. I'm gonna bring her with me, put her in the stroller, get some miles in while pushing the stroller, strapped her all in, and I didn't really know what I was gonna be capable of.
Okay.
And I actually ended up qualifying for the Olympic trials with the stroller
Ridiculous.
for the marathon.
You can't lie in these ads.
I did. I qualified for the Olympic trials, pushing the stroller.
Again, you qualified a second.
But this time with the stroller. Did you see a guy ran a 4:17 mile with the stroller?
Yeah, I feel like I did see that, and I'm like, oh, I bet that's a story Megan's going to steal and claim as her own.
I'm working on it. And I can't steal it until I do it, but you just wait. We're in training, baby.
You didn't do 4:17.
Not yet. Not yet. But I'm not tapping out. I'm coming for it. So I'm not going to tap out.
But you did it
But the Olympic trials, yes, I did that with the stroller.
with the baby in the stroller.
With the baby in the stroller. Yep.
That's so fast for the baby to
Yeah,
be
I know.
moving.
It's crazy.
I don't.
Like 10, it's over 10 miles an hour.
It's just not 10 mile.
Pushing it.
No, I know what you were doing.
Wind in the hair.
It's just not true. Minute Maid in WWE are tag teaming your daily grind, bringing main event energy to life's everyday matches. Together, we're turning the toughest rounds into moments worth cheering for if they really happen.
From the ring to real life, Minute Maid
Real
and
life.
WWE. That's what I said. Real life. Minute
Not
Maid
live.
and WWE are here to help you bring the juice when the day tries to tap you out.
Never tap out on taste. Bring the juice.
Bring the juice. It's
That was supposed to be in unison.
Yeah. it was.
Should have kept up with me on that if you're so fast. I will tell you this. There's a question going on right now in the WWE about who is the future of the WWE. And that question keeps getting asked by Braun Breaker. I swear, this guy is obsessed.
Do you think he's insecure? Does this shirt look okay? What do you think?
Whoa.
Is this okay? Is this okay? He's asking. He has Byron Saxton. Byron's
What the
just
hell
doing
would Byron Saxton
just
know?
doing his job. He's like, "What do you think of Obafemi, huh?"
Yeah.
It's like, wait, I thought Byron's job was to ask the questions.
Yeah, I mean, if I wanted to ask Byron a question, it'd be where can I get a very bright suit? Where can I get suits in very bright colors? That's what I would ask Byron Saxton.
He would be the guy to go to for that.
Oh, yes, he would. Yes, he would. But other than that, I don't know what I would ask that guy.
What he thinks about Obafemi is what Braun Breaker went to Byron for.
Look, insecure? I don't know. That's a huge word to be thrown around towards Braun Breaker.
Well, he was obsessed with asking the question today.
I think he is laser focused on Obafemi and only Obafemi. I think he is holding the tag team championship, but I don't think he has thought about the tag team championship since the night, 2 nights after SummerSlam, 48 hours removed from that Hell in a Cell, when Obafemi took ownership of the title that Brock Lesnar gave him, which is the future of the WWE. And Obafemi said, I will lead this generation. I will be the guy that does that. This was something, I don't want to say it was promised, but this is something that was intended at one point for Braun Breaker.
Yes, it was.
Braun Breaker came in, and the whole idea of the vision was that Braun Breaker was going to be the future.
And I think Seth Rollins called him the future in many promos.
And I think Paul Heyman made him feel like he was the future. You can go back to NXT. Remember that episode of NXT when Paul Heyman was sneaking
yes, I
around
remember
backstage
that.
at
Yes,
NXT?
I remember that.
I mean, even back then when it was like, when's Braun Breaker going to come up? He's the future, he's the future, he's the future. And boom, Obafemi, let's just call it what it is, came up and stole his thunder. And unfortunately for Braun Breaker, and maybe it was because of injury and who knows what else, but when you look at the trajectory of what Braun Breaker was doing, he started dipping as Oba started going up. And that's a bad look. That graph is not what Braun Breaker wants to see. Even in Steiner Math, those aren't the numbers that Braun Breaker wants.
I don't think Braun Breaker has slept a wink since Obafemi
Cut
and
that promo.
Future have been used together in the same sentence.
I mean, you remember last week, it was before the Joe Hendry match. He was just stoically staring at the entryway where Obafemi once stood. Tonight, it was first, and Austin Theory and Maxine Dupree are so madly and utterly in love with each other.
Something like that.
A fairy tale
I
romance
don't know
come
if I
to
would
life.
go fairy tale, but
A Cinderella story.
they seem to be having a good time together.
Right. Oh, you bet they are. Right in front of our eyes. And they're so, obsessed with love. And I don't know what the hell Logan Paul is thinking, but they're so obsessed with one another that I don't think Austin Theory has stopped for a second to say, what on earth is going on with my tag team partner right now? He's sitting there going like, I got to go beat up Akira Tozawa for a little bit, and then we can get right back to Maxine Dupree.
Well, I mean, listen, when you have someone ringside that looks like Maxine Dupree, I don't know if you could really pay attention to much else, to be fair.
Especially when she's on your side, when she's cheering for you, when you have that kind of support.
Now, I know Logan Paul is one of the biggest stars on the planet, but I mean, look who's cheering for you ringside.
I would pick Maxine
Of
as well.
course you would. Everybody would.
Yeah, you have to.
Everyone would.
You have to. Especially this version of Maxine.
Yes.
Like, she's really picking and choosing who she supports. But Braun Breaker doesn't care because Braun Breaker doesn't see any of that himself. They're out there, they're talking backstage. And Austin Theory is talking about Tozawa, and Logan Paul is talking about, Otis and how, Otis is on the shelf for a little bit.
I think Logan Paul was making fun of cholesterol levels.
He was making fun of cholesterol levels, which is unnecessary, but Braun Breaker is just stoically staring again, just thinking about something else. He's in a different space. And then you're right. He looks at Byron Saxton and says, "What do you think of Obafemi?" And Byron Saxton, who deserves a T-shirt, says that one of the greatest quotes ever. He goes like this: "I like him." I like him. Byron's, I like him. Who does Byron Saxton not like?
I like him.
What name could you put there that Byron Saxton wouldn't say, I like him?
I like him.
I want to see Byron Saxton again. I'd say, like, okay, make a list of people you like.
I like him.
You just go to the roster page on WWE.com. Yeah, I like him too.
Can we get that as a drop? What do you think of this person playing?
I like him.
I
I like him. It's my favorite. I couldn't stop. But then Braun Breaker asked him, do you think he's the future?
It's great because if you ask Jacob Fatu, what do you think of that? He goes,
Ass.
You ask Byron, I like him.
Yeah. What do you think of Braun Breaker? Ass. What do you think of Braun Breaker?
I like him.
He goes, you think he's the future? And Byron Saxton, with all his journalistic integrity, goes, that's what Brock Lesnar said. Just no ownership whatsoever. I don't want to be a part of this conversation. I don't know. You have to take that up with Brock Lesnar. He's out there in the farm somewhere. He's not coming back forever.
And he ain't watching the product.
No,
right?
he's done. He's done with this. He's not even coming back for Jake Paul. He's done. He's not doing you know what. So then they go, okay. And Braun Breaker moves on. And then he goes to Paul Heyman. And he goes to Paul Heyman and he says, he brings up Obafemi again. And by the way, we had the match with Braun, with Austin Theory and Tozawa. It ends up in a beatdown. And here comes Obafemi. And Braun Breaker goes, there he is. Oh, yeah. Finally, all this energy that he's been building up inside of himself, he can release. And Obafemi gets right in that ring, and Obafemi just looked like a beast. Just, those shoulders. He looked like he was probably, 8 feet from end to end. I mean, he was unbelievable looking tonight. Just showing up, not an ounce of intimidation, not a drop of sweat.
As Booker T would put it, just me.
That's right. No bread, no water.
Just me.
That was Obafemi tonight. And he gets right in that ring, and they were separated immediately. But we know, it's got to happen. And then Braun Breaker goes to Paul Heyman. I mean, look at the finally, it's the only thing that broke Braun Breaker. He's finally smiling. When he sees Obafemi, he's finally smiling.
He welcomes this.
We've never seen anybody smile when Obafemi gets into the ring and gets in front of them confrontationally. And that's exactly what Braun Breaker did. This is what he needs. He could care less right now about the tag team championship. He could care less right now about Logan Paul, Austin Theory, Maxine Dupree, whatever's going on. All he wants to do is take back his position as the person who is the future of the company. The idea that carrot was dangled in front of him and Obafemi snatched it away and Brock Lesnar co-signed it. I think it's driving Braun Breaker absolutely crazy.
He's this dog that's pacing around and
that's
ready
right.
to pounce.
All he wants is that piece of steak. That's it.
And he's
it's
so
driving him
obsessed
crazy
with this that
Obsessed.
he has to ask everybody who he gets their attention.
And then he asked Paul Heyman. He said, do you think, he goes, you respect Obafemi? And he says, well, after what Obafemi did to Brock Lesnar and was able to conquer Brock Lesnar after Brock gave him everything that he possibly could, I have no choice but to respect Obafemi. But do you think he's the future? Well, I respect Obafemi, but you're not answering my question. Do you think he's the future? And Paul Heyman looks at Braun Breaker and he says, I'm going to keep respecting Obafemi until you give me a reason not to. Now, tell me this. This was my theory as I was watching him talk to Paul Heyman. Insecurity? Maybe. That's something you brought to the table. Do you think Braun Breaker comes from the world of football? Braun Breaker comes from the world of Division I athletics. Braun Breaker knows what it is to need motivation, what that motivation is that separates you from day-to-day Braun and champion Braun. Do you think he knows he needs somebody like Paul Heyman to say, yes, I think Oba is the future? Do you think that he knows that that's the motivation that he needs? I need somebody whose opinion that I trust as much as Paul Heyman. I need him to say that. Because conventional thinking, somebody like me who didn't qualify for the Olympic trials twice, once with a stroller, conventional thinking would go, okay, he clearly wants Paul Heyman to tell him he's good enough. He wants Paul Heyman to say, no, I don't think Oba's the future. I think you're the future. But maybe, just maybe, Braun Breaker needs Paul Heyman to say, yes, Obafemi is the future. And that's the fire that needs to light the stick of dynamite that is Braun Breaker to get in there and destroy Obafemi. Maybe that's the one thing, the push that Braun Breaker needs to get to another level.
I mean, we see it all the time in sports, right? Every now and then an athlete needs to be yelled at a little bit.
Yes.
Right? Not in a way like you're in trouble, I'm scolding you.
Tell me you think he's better than me. Tell me you want me to prove you wrong.
Light that fire within me.
Yes. Give me something that I can prove wrong. And I think that might be something. And my evidence of that is the way he smiled when Obafemi was in the ring. I need this. This is what I need. Maybe there's been a stagnation in Braun Breaker because he hasn't had that goal in front of him. And maybe this is the goal that he needed. Because I'll tell you right now, after the whole Brock Lesnar thing, most people are under the assumption that if and when that match happens, Oba's winning. And maybe Braun Breaker is going to work better under those circumstances. Maybe.
You know, the way that at first, when I brought up insecurity, that's sort of the way I saw it. And now really looking into it this way and pointing out the fact that Braun Breaker's smiling and pointing out that Braun Breaker, he's welcoming this, right?
Like,
oh, so you think he's the future?
Yes.
Let me hear you say it. Let me hear you say it so I can prove you all wrong.
Maybe that's what it is.
He wants people to say this right now.
Right. Now, if I'm Byron Saxton, I'm not saying it because he's going to break Byron Saxton in half.
I like him.
Yeah, that's not. He's like, I got to ask somebody else. This isn't it, Byron.
It's really funny how you lay out, you're like, he has to ask someone's opinion that he really trusts.
Well, yeah, because he got I like him from Byron Saxton.
He's like, I need
I
to be
like
better
him.
than this guy.
It was so great. I was like, this guy's a reporter. What kind of insight is that? I love Byron Saxton,
I
by
love
the way.
Byron. This is not a Byron.
Byron is goated, for sure. But I'll tell you what
He
else
needs
is
a t-shirt.
goated. Prosphere. He needs a Prosphere shirt. I would get a Byron Saxton
I would
Prosphere. You know, because, I mean, this is for people if they've been cheering since the Attitude Era, if they're all in on today's biggest superstars, even if they're just counting down to the next PLE, Prosphere has the gear to help you represent the WWE universe in style. For example, you know, I love my soccer kits.
You say that all the time.
I go, get me another kit is what I say. Well, guess what? The OTC Roman Reigns is back on Monday Night Raw next week, and you best believe that in the build-up to that, I'll be wearing my Roman Reigns soccer kit. Look at that, Roman Reigns 1 on the back. I love that Prosphere really did that. They really did that. My OTC soccer jersey, I love it.
Well, and you know that I love my baseball jerseys, and you know that I am a Chicago gal. So I got my CM Punk
Nice.
Prosphere best in the world on the back with number 13.
Got to get that in White Sox colors.
I know that's the only thing. He is a Cubs fan, but we do have the Chicago Stars on the sleeve, which
Love
is
that.
a nice touch. Very excited to rep my CM Punk baseball jersey.
That's what happens. You stand out from the crowd with Prosphere. Don't just wear fan gear. Make a statement. You can head over to Fanatics and shop the full Prosphere collection today. Look at that sweet NWO shirt. Prosphere on Fanatics. Gear built for every member of the WWE universe. And without further ado, I think it's time to bring in our first guest here on tonight's Raw Recap. Coming at us from Raw, the master of the 619, the Hall of Famer, the legend, the general manager of AAA, Rey Mysterio. Rey, what's going on, man?
What's up? How you doing?
We're good. We're excited about this tournament that we found out about late last week after you and Roman had your conversation at the end of Monday Night Raw. I mean, you know, I feel like we talk about this a lot with everything that AAA is doing and the way it's like very rapidly growing and growing and growing. But for you to now see AAA represented on Monday Night Raw and this idea that a luchador is going to be facing Roman Reigns for the World Heavyweight title in Mexico City at Raw. How big is this for you and for AAA and for Lucha in general?
Listen, Sam, it's been like my journey has been more than incredible. The opportunities that have been presented to me, you know, I've taken the most, I believe, advantage of. So with the position that I have now as GM for AAA, the best thing that I could have thought of is how can we get opportunities to the up and coming greatest luchadors of all time right now, the ones that are rising. And what better than to speak to the OTC, convince him into putting his heavyweight title on the line, but of course it would have to be with someone that is very respected and someone that is willing to earn that spot. And that's how this tournament all came about. But I truly believe that this is an opportunity of a lifetime because anything can happen, as we've seen over the years in wrestling. Titles have been switched overnight, so you never know what could happen. May the best luchador in this competition win, because then he will be able to represent Mexico at its fullest.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody knows about winning the WWE Championship in a way that was unexpected, it's Rey Mysterio.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, Ray, you sat there and, I mean, you talk about tournaments. You talk about you've won the WWE Championship in a tournament. You've seen how fast that can move. For you, I know you're the general manager of AAA, but the tournament also features Raw and SmackDown superstars. Was there any part of you that was like, man? I mean, I'm looking at a picture right there on the wall. I don't know if you can see it, from 1997, and it's you, and it's Halloween Havoc, and I mean, I know how important it is for you to be a representative of AAA and everything that's going on right now, but I also know how important it is for you to be in the ring and be a competitor. Is there any part of you that looks at the people in this tournament and goes, man, I wish that was me that had a shot at getting this Roman Reigns match in Mexico City?
Oh, 100%. There's a side of me that battles, to a certain extent. I could be part of this, but I cannot be selfish, and I have to think about the up and coming young talent and what they have to display. I would love to see all of their futures shine bright like mine has. And the only way to do that, I believe, is stepping aside as well and giving opportunities to those that deserve it. So we have like you mentioned, talent from Raw, talent from SmackDown, and also talent, of course, from AAA. It's time to make those wrestlers stand out and give them an opportunity to shine and to show what they're all about, to show them and represent Lucha Libre at its fullest, like Laredo Kid did today against Penta. Mm-hmm. Psycho will eventually do it against Parka. We have Wagner and Dragon, Phoenix and El Fiscal next week. So this is a pretty stacked up tournament. And at the end of the day, we're going to know who the best luchador out of these men is.
Well, an opportunity did come your way this evening when Chad Gable approached you backstage and said that he wants you to be the first person he defends his Intercontinental Championship against. I know you have quite the history with Chad Gable. What did that mean to you?
Oh, I feel truly honored. Right before this whole story began with Grande Americano, that was the match that was scheduled 2 years ago at WrestleMania in Las Vegas. El Grande versus myself. And I got injured the day before, and then Chad later got injured. So that we kind of parted our own separate ways. And here we are meeting once again 2 years later. And now he is the IC champion, and the utmost respect for him to step up and take time to say, I like what you're doing. I respect what you're doing. This is a very historical moment that will be talked about for many years, and as respect and as your help that you've given me and the guidance, I want you to be the first defense for this Intercontinental Championship. So honestly, that makes me feel really good to have that opportunity once again to be able to retain gold.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing thing. And you talk about Grande Americano, and I was actually just having a conversation with Dragon Lee about this on WWE Radio. That something that, to me, that Grande Americano versus Grande Americano mask versus mask match was one of the reasons it was so special, is because I think fans beyond traditional lucha fans, but fans across the globe, WWE fans, were watching that and had this deep appreciation for how important the mask is, for how much the mask means. I feel like it wasn't that long ago. You know, I mean, I guess it was, but in the days of WCW and in the days of, you know, and Eric Bischoff has said that, you know, in his mind, somebody like you needed to lose a mask if you were going to come to the States, because nobody could relate to you if you had the mask on. You had to show your face so that people could relate to you. And I think we've come so far as a wrestling audience, and maybe we were always there, right? That like that what we relate to now is the mask and the story behind the mask and how important that mask is. Did that occur to you at all as you were watching this Grande versus Grande match that became so big that they replayed the entire thing on Monday Night Raw, that this is now a global audience that is fully entrenched in how important the mask is?
I was very amazed how big the hook was for all audiences, anybody that was watching. And when I say all audiences, I even consider myself to be part of that audience, because I was hooked as well. I was enjoying the match. I was feeling the moment. Every moment that happened throughout that match, I felt like I was part of it. It was taking me on that ride. And that's the importance of wrestling, to be able to tell that story and to be able to feel it as you're watching it, to be living it at the same time. Even though you're not in the ring, you want to be able to feel it from your seat or from home, wherever you're watching. And I think they both did an incredible job. And not only that, because obviously it meant so much to both of them. And you can tell from the beginning of that feud, not from that match, but from the beginning of the feud, how important the recognition of the name and the mask was to them. They wanted to be the only one. So when you have something on the line that's that big, that has been part of Lucha Libre's history for many years, it's something really enjoyable to be a part of, whether you're there live watching it in the arena or you're watching from home. But I have not heard up till today a single negative comment on that match. It's all been positive, and that just gives pride for someone like me that has grown up practicing the art of lucha libre.
Yeah, it feels like one of those matches. And honestly, I have the short list of matches that I could show to somebody who's never watched professional wrestling before and go, this is what makes wrestling so great. One of those was always you and Eddie from 97, and Grande versus Grande is now on that list as well, where it's like you don't need to have ever even thought about professional wrestling before you turn on either of those two matches, and you realize, because you're just so into the story of what's happening.
Right. And how ironic is it that that both Grandes, are neither Mexican.
Right.
But the fact that they are soaked in the character and they take the time to learn about the culture and speak the language, is that just goes to show how much the fans are involved, because they know you are taking your time to learn about them, how they live, what they do, their language, and how to connect with them on a personal level. That is what has gained the majority of the fan base on Grande Americano.
When you look at this tournament that we have laid out for across Monday Night Raw and AAA, and of course superstars from SmackDown as well, it was brought up tonight. Why is it that the AAA Mega Champion, the person a lot of people think is the best luchador working right now, Dominic Mysterio, why would Dominic Mysterio not be in this tournament?
Well, I could say, for one, He has never trained lucha libre. You know, he
right.
can say he's the best luchador. Yeah, he does a couple moves here and there, but his training was always on the American side. He trained in Tampa, he trained in Canada, and he trained, you know, in San Diego. So when you speak about luchadores, you know, born and raised, that's your bread and butter. That's where you began. That's where you got your ass kicked. You know, every time you stepped into the ring, they made you sweat. You threw up. You wanted to get out of the ring, but no, they pulled you back in. So I think my concept of a luchador is completely different from Dom's concept.
Are you saying you think Dominic Mysterio is a fraud?
Ooh.
I never said he was a fraud, but I don't consider him. Let's just say this: I don't consider him the greatest luchador of all time.
Wow.
What about the king of the luchadors?
El Rey.
Oh, sorry.
Well, Ray, man, I'm excited. You know, something that has been brought up a lot lately, just because of everything that's been going on in the WWE, is generations and the generations that superstars come from. At SummerSlam, we just saw Brock Lesnar retire. Before that, AJ Styles retired. Before that, John Cena retired. I mean, you're looking at that 02 class. And in terms of the WWE, 02, you know, you're a big part of that sort of generation. When you look at what's left, you're already in the Hall of Fame, which is wild.
Yeah.
When you look at how much time is left for the in-ring career of Rey Mysterio, are you thinking matches? Are you thinking years? Are you thinking what?
Man, I honestly most recently have been battling with, is it getting close to my time to retire? I certainly don't feel like I am like my body is saying, okay, now it's time. And I always like to listen to my body. I am enjoying the position of being AAA's GM and seeing young rising stars come up in the game. But at the end of the day, it's like, man, I really enjoy what I do on every level. Obviously, I enjoy wrestling a lot more than being behind the cameras, but I do understand that opportunities are very little. And there's others that are going to come before me right now because it's time to make or to give the spotlight to other superstars, especially in the lucha libre world. So I am okay with that. And I think as far as tapping out, you know, never say never, but it can just pop up one day just out of nowhere and say, okay, now it's time.
Well, hopefully you win the Intercontinental title next week, and then, you know, you go on you have a
hey,
whole
you
nother
never
run
know,
in
right?
you, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Ray, thank you so much. You're the best.
Thank you, Ray.
Congrats on everything and the success of AAA. And I can't wait to see you and Gable next week, and I can't wait to see how the whole tournament pans out.
Thank you, guys.
Big thanks to Rey Mysterio. By the way, I hope he bites on that. I said Chad Gable versus Ray was happening next week. I made that up. They didn't announce when it was happening.
They didn't announce.
I just said, good luck next week.
Next week.
I want to see it next
could.
week. That's what I'm hoping for.
It could be next week.
Look,
yeah.
this is what you know what it's called?
Manifesting.
That's all it is.
Manifest
I'm
that.
manifesting that for next week. I don't want to have to wait any longer for that. I'm excited about it.
That was smart.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I've got to tell you, we were talking before we spoke to Ray, and we're talking about the AAA tournament and everything. We were talking about Obafemi in the future, and that Brock Lesnar is the one that crowned him that. You can celebrate a one-of-a-kind career, the kind that only Brock Lesnar could have, with the new Brock Lesnar collection honoring the Beast, the moments, and an unforgettable legacy. It's all available now at WWE Shop and Fanatics. I love that one where he and The Undertaker sit up and The Undertaker is just doing that laugh at him. And of course, speaking of careers that we're right in the middle of seeing, we saw a huge moment from Chelsea Green. You can make your championship status permanent with the new Chelsea Green Permanent Champion tee. No interim, permanent. Available now at WWE Shop and Fanatics. Chelsea Green, of course, becoming the WWE Women's Champion at SummerSlam. But two women on Monday Night Raw that want to become the Women's World Champion are Stephanie Vaquer and Yo Girl,
That's right.
Becky Lynch. We saw him once again face-to-face. Stephanie Vaquer coming out, talking about what her feelings are in the Judgment Day, talking about how her goal is to just whip Liv Morgan from pillar to post.
She called out every member of the Judgment Day. She
Every
started
single
with
member.
Raquel. She talked about her. She talked about Roxanne and how, she was done for. And then she turned to Liv Morgan and just talked about how she believes that title still belongs to her.
Yeah. Yeah. However, not everybody agreed. Becky Lynch interrupted,
Yes.
came out,
Hola, chica, ¿cómo estás?
Right. Very nice. Very, very, very good. She said that they do have something in common in the sense that they both want to destroy Liv Morgan. They both want to beat the stuffing out of Liv Morgan. Sweet cheeks, Liv Morgan. She said that Becky Lynch is now of the opinion that she wants to preserve the title. She said that Liv Morgan is regressing. She didn't use the word regressing, but I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah, she said that Liv Morgan is taking that title back
Yes, years.
to the mid 2000s.
Right, and she doesn't want to see that happen. I heard you talking to Mark Henry on WWE Radio today.
I was.
And you guys were talking about the idea of championships main eventing, and that I think Mark brought up interviewing Becky Lynch and saying that he asked her about like intergender matches and all this. And I loved Becky's response. I don't always, but I loved her response to this question, which was, it's not really about that. Why does the men's championship hold any more value than the women's championship? And I think that that's what Becky Lynch feels like she's trying to preserve right now. That's, I think, what Becky Lynch wants to do with the Women's World Championship.
And Becky believes she got that title to a place where it wasn't about men's versus women's. It was about the championship, right?
Now, what about the fact that Becky tells Stephanie Vaquer, she calls her an enigma. She said she's a bit of a mystery. She says she's very impressive when she's not gone for months at a time. Are we just sitting there acting like Becky Lynch didn't just return last week as well?
Okay, well,
I mean, she literally, both of them returned last week. Why is Becky able to say that Stephanie Vaquer just disappears when Becky also had just disappeared? Just because she's on Instagram doesn't mean she's on the show.
well, Becky was only gone for 2 months.
How long was Stephanie gone?
Stephanie Vaquer we haven't seen since WrestleMania, so it's been over 100 days.
It's like 3 months. It's like 1 month longer.
Okay, Mr. Math over here.
That was quick. That was like Northwestern quick.
Not quite Olympic trials quick.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
But you're
I forgot.
you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
That was Syracuse for you.
not quite on the same level. But
Call it the Ivy League of Upstate.
nobody calls it that.
Central New York.
No, I think that's Cornell actually.
Is that upstate as well?
Yeah,
Oh, I
upstate.
didn't
It's
know.
right
We
up
don't really
there.
talk about
and that's
that.
actually a real Ivy League school. A real one?
Who are you?
Not-
Andy Bernard?
All right, we're not talking about colleges. We're not talking about schools. We were talking about the
You
greatest female
graduate.
wrestler of all time, which is
ahead.
Becky Lynch. And yes, she was away for a little while, but she took that Intercontinental Championship to new heights.
Yeah, but then she criticized that. What difference does that make? She criticized Stephanie for being away. She was also away.
Yeah. So she was away.
Okay.
Okay. She was away and now she's back. And she's back to get the championship. And I love that Becky points out that not only does she need the championship, but the championship needs her.
She said Stephanie Vaquer doesn't deserve the championship, but the championship deserves Becky Lynch.
That's right.
That's what Becky Lynch said.
Yeah.
And
it
look,
does.
I will
The
give her
championship
this.
Does deserve her.
The audience is on her side, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
They were ready. They were ready. Give us a reason to cheer for you, and they were ready. Of course, Liv comes out. She attacks Becky Lynch. Stephanie Vaquer comes in to make the save. Doesn't need to make the save because Becky Lynch is able to take care of Liv Morgan. Liv rolls out of the ring, and now Stephanie Vaquer and Becky Lynch are back to being face-to-face. And I've got to tell you, there is something, especially when they're Somehow they are both fan favorites. Becky Lynch is somehow a fan favorite.
Somehow. What do you mean somehow?
She's been
You're just a hater.
so unpleasant for so long. But she's a fan favorite. I'm calling it like it is. But to see
And
these,
you hate it. Her music hit today and people cheered, and I was watching the show with you, and you're just grumbling and groaning.
I didn't make any
You
noise
were
at all.
you were grumbling and groaning.
Might have been
You
it might have
just
been my
hate
stomach.
it.
It was before I ate my
You
quesadilla.
hate it so much.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
You do.
I
Just
don't-
admit it. It's a
No.
great sight.
The reaction that other people have doesn't affect me whatsoever.
People cheering for Becky Lynch feels right. Becky Lynch going after the Women's World Championship feels right. Admit it. Feels right. You liked it.
I don't have
It's
any-
okay. You can like it. You can like it.
I don't have an issue with Becky Lynch going after the championship. I
Okay.
find her to be unpleasant. That's all.
You can't put your personal issues aside.
They're not. No.
They are personal.
Well, they are personal to me. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. She attacks me every chance she gets and threatens my job. You know, that's tough.
Deserved.
It's not deserved.
I mean,
I'm
you
trying
have
to
this
feed
platform.
these kids.
You have this platform.
Right.
And we could come on here and talk about
Well, I
how
think
great
she may be
is, but you just
overlooking-
like to
she may
poke
be
holes in
overlooking
it. Oh,
Stephanie.
Becky was off. She took time away. Just poking holes.
Okay, big deal. Well, when you walked in the studio, you were singing Trouble, Trouble. So now I've said that.
Oh.
Okay, so I don't know if
Okay,
that was
you
supposed to be
didn't- I didn't
private,
know
but
if
I
you're
just
supposed to
I just
throw me under
doxed
the
you.
bus. Yeah,
you just got
that was
doxed.
weird. Yep,
So,
that was- you didn't have to do that.
you
It's
know
a
what I
catchy
mean?
Song. It gets stuck in your head. It's a catchy song.
it is. It's a good song.
It's a catchy song. Very catchy.
And we're all of a sudden at a highly competitive place because there is something I will say unbelievably intriguing about Stephanie Vaquer and Becky Lynch face to face. It's one of those things that you didn't realize you needed until you see it. And the fact that Liv Morgan is in the mix here as well. Liv, Stephanie, and Becky is a very intriguing three-person top of the division right now.
And, you know, on an all serious note, we talk about how Becky Lynch did call Stephanie Vaquer an enigma and said, you know, I don't know a whole lot about you.
Yeah.
Except that you've really commanded the attention of a lot of people on Monday Night Raw. Before Becky did disrespect Stephanie and calling her out for not being there, I think Becky did point out something that, you know, a lot of people connect with Stephanie Vaquer but can't exactly put their finger on why, or since she's been so new to Monday Night Raw and instantly wins the Women's World Championship so quickly. You think about her coming to WWE. She's in NXT. She's a double champion. She has this amazing match at Evolve where she earns a world championship opportunity. She wins the world title. She's at WrestleMania. So much happened for her in a year that Becky points out, listen, I know what you're capable of, but I don't really know you. And I'm looking forward to if these two interact even more, bringing out
Yeah.
that unknown from Stephanie Vaquer.
Yes. So we know her story. We know her past.
That's right.
We know she's relatable because of how hard she had to work to get here. We know all that. But I think what we don't know is what does she look like when she's fighting from below? Mm-hmm. Because to your point, you're 100% right. She has come in here like a tornado and just gobbled up the whole division.
She's been on the main roster for less than a year.
And you brought up the Unreal thing on WWE Radio today. And that was also a good point because, like, you are talking about, like, this year that she's had. But as she was talking about on Unreal, there's 14 years behind that that are all catching up to her all at once. And, I mean, it's almost like this is a dust settles moment. We don't have the excitement of your brand new. We don't have the hit the ground running nature of what was happening in that first year. Now it's time to, okay, when we settle into what it's going to be, what is it going to be?
Yes.
And I think that's the answer. And I think Becky Lynch, honestly, is the perfect person to maybe bring that out in Stephanie Vaquer and really test what the staying power is there, because I think it's there.
Yes, it is there.
And it's like, okay, well, this is the top of the division. I mean, it's hard to imagine a more decorated female superstar in the history of the industry than Becky Lynch, and somebody who's able to tackle things from every angle. So, okay, what does it look like now? What does it look like when you're not new? What does it look like when you're coming off of injury? And what does it look like when you're doing all that next to Becky Lynch? And I think that that's going to answer a lot, but also for Becky Lynch. She hasn't been anywhere. She hasn't sniffed the top of the card since she returned.
Yeah. And that was
She went from tag team to Intercontinental Championship, and that defined her. What does this version of Becky Lynch look like? I mean, WrestleMania 40 was the last time that she was in kind of the championship title picture.
Yeah, against Rhea.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything after
In
that,
Philly.
and then she was gone for a while.
It was her Michael Jordan flu game.
Right. Mm-hmm. She lost.
Well,
Michael Jordan won the flu
I mean,
game.
it was a great match. I was just
He won. That's the whole thing. It's like, I can't believe it. He won, and he got a lot of points by himself, even with the flu.
next question.
Becky lost.
Next question.
I mean, it'd be like if like, yeah, it's like her Michael Jordan flu game if she was the other team.
I'm just talking about.
Did you hear him in the other room? Also, shout out, talk about the top of the card. It's just a bad example. Talk about the top of the card. Shout out to Sol Ruca, because I swear, I keep hearing, does Sol have any friends? Does Sol have any friends? Yup, Io Sky. It's a pretty damn good friend if you're Sol Ruca. You know, I got to tell you, where else? This is not me telling you something. This is more me asking you. I got to ask this question. Where else can you experience the thrill and excitement of ripping Topps card packs with the instant gratification of having your collection conveniently on your phone? I got to give you some old NBA tapes. WWE Slam by Topps offers fans around the world the chance to collect and trade their favorite WWE superstars, rip new digital packs every day, complete collector-based missions and seasons, and combine cards to craft them into rare digital collectibles. The app even offers in-app challenges when you can win Topps WWE hobby boxes, full cases, graded cards, and more just by ripping digital packs. Here's your chance to build the ultimate Topps WWE digital collection featuring iconic Topps designs, original artwork, motion cards, and more. WWE Slam by Topps. Download free now in the App Store and Google Play. I'm excited for next week.
Me too.
To see what happens as the tournament progresses. I believe that next week we have Ray Phoenix versus El Fiscal and Dragon Lee versus Ehode Dr. Wagner Jr. Yup, nail that, baby. Both next week. Psycho Clown versus La Parka is this week on AAA. This tournament is moving fast, and it feels like September 14th, Mexico City, Roman Reigns defending the title on Monday Night Raw is going to be here before we know it. But we do not have to wait until September 14th to see Roman Reigns on Monday Night Raw. He will be in the house next week.
Ooh.
There to address what's going on between Jimmy and Jay.
And Solo.
Jacob. Solo. No longer Dolo Sikoa.
Bummer.
It's all very, very exciting. We will be here to cover it all on the WWE Now Raw recap. You can listen to us, of course, across all audio platforms on YouTube and on WWE Radio, Sirius XM channel 156. We will see you next week. Have a good one, everybody.